Okay, so we're going to look at some more algebra examples. We're going to look at some slightly more complicated ones. We're going to first off look at an equation similar to something you might get in physics. So you're told all your values, and this is the equation we know, but we don't actually want to find k, we want to find g. So we need to rearrange this equation to make g the subject. So how do we start off? Well, the first thing we need to do is get rid of this square root sign, because that's encompassing everything here. We need to get rid of that completely. How do we get rid of a square root sign? Well, what we do, we square it. So again, whatever we do to this side, we must do to this side the equal sign. So we're going to square both sides. Okay, that will get rid of our square root sign. So we'll get k squared equals 2gh all over n. Right, now we're trying to get the g on its own, so we need to get rid of this n first. As it's on the bottom, it's to do with everything, so we need to get rid of that. How are we going to get rid of that? Well, we need to times both sides by n. So if we times this side by n, we need to then times this side by n as well. These will then cancel, so we don't need to worry about those. So we end up with k squared n. Remember, that squared's only to do with the k, nothing to do with the n. So k squared times n, and we'll get that equals 2gh. Right, just to make life look slightly easier for us, 2gh can be written differently. We can write, it doesn't matter what order we do these times in, so we can actually write it any way we want. So we can actually write 2hg. Okay? Now we can deal with the 2h as one thing. We don't have to deal with it, do two separate operations to get rid of it. So we can see straight away that what we want to do, we want to divide both sides by 2h. Okay? Divide both sides by 2h. That will cancel it off of here. So we'll end up with k squared n all over 2h equals g. We've now rearranged it so g is the subject. If we wanted, we could write it the other way around. We could write g equals k squared n over 2h. It doesn't actually matter what way around we write it. We've got g as the subject. We've solved that equation. We can just plug our values in and we'll find out what g must equal. So you'll find with algebra that you actually get a sense of achievement from doing these sorts of solving equations. You're using the skills that you've learned to solve a problem. And problem solving, you can really get a sense of achievement from it. It actually can become quite fun. Just because it's maths, just because you're doing it for learning, doesn't mean you don't have to enjoy it. So get rid of that mental block and start enjoying solving these equations. We'll do another quick one. Again, slightly more complicated. Okay, so now we're going to try another question, slightly more tricky again. We're going to introduce what looks like a sort of algebraic fraction in there. So 2b plus 3 over a plus 4 equals 4b. Okay, and we need to make a the subject of this one. So, how do we go about that? Don't get distracted and think, let's get rid of that a plus 4 because it's on the bottom first. And we generally, if things are on the bottom, we get rid of them first. Kind of a trick in there. You can't do that. If you times this side, remember that's what you're doing. If you times this side by a plus 4, the 2b is separate, isn't it? So you'd have to do 2b times a plus 4, then this to get rid of it, and then this times a plus 4. So you're making a lot more work for yourself. So the best thing to do, get rid of this 2b that's stuck out the front first. Let's get all the b's on one side. So what I want to do, I want to take 2b away from this side, and I want to take 2b away from this side. So I know those cancel out, so I end up with 3 over a plus 4, and that equals 4b minus 2b, 2b. Okay, so now I can get rid of this a plus 4 on the bottom. Now it's only to do with that. So what do I do? Remember that we can look at that as if it's in brackets. So we times both sides by a plus 4. And that means they'll cancel out. Lovely job. So we end up with 3 equals 2b brackets a plus 4. Right, now let's have a look at it. So, do we want to multiply out? Not in this case, because we've got the a in there. If we multiply out, we're just going to muddy things up. So what we need to do is get rid of this 2b, leave just some a's on this side. So what we want to do, we want to divide both sides by 2b. Oh, and b, 2b. So divide by 2b. Then cancel. And we'll end up with, or rather messy there, 3 over 2b equals a plus 4. So we can take the brackets away now because it's not times it by anything. So, one last thing to do. We've got a plus 4. We've got to take that 4 away, haven't we? So, let's take that 4 away from both sides. So we end up with 3 over 2b, take away 4 equals a. Remember, it's the 3 over 2b take away 4. You're not taking the 4 has got nothing, it's not over the top of the 2b. You're doing 3 divided by 2b first, then taking away 4. You're not doing 3 minus 4 divided by 2b. And you're not doing 3 divided by 2b minus 4. Be very careful about where you put these things. They do make a big difference. But that gives us the answer. 3 over 2b minus 4 equals a. Okay, have a good practice at these. Like I said, you'll find you actually might get some enjoyment out of doing them, a sense of achievement when you crack a really tough question that you've really been struggling with. There are some quite tough questions in the book, so have a go at them. And all this algebra will come in useful later on in a lot of the other questions we'll be doing.